What if? One of the most common questions we get starts with what if.
In this video, we are going to be covering some of those scenarios and what would we do in those situations. I would say one of our most commonly asked what ifs is what if we get sick or we're injured.
Yeah, you always got to be aware of where those clinics are at, where those hospitals are. Just, to set your mind at ease a little bit. I always feel like I'm going to get hurt. Whenever I go anywhere,
especially as we get older.
Don't get hurt, you're getting old. That's why we like where we're at right now in Budapest. There's no cobblestone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bonus. But yeah, that's a very good question, and it's a great what if. Just be aware of where those clinics are at. But what if you get severely ill? Something that you can't just recover from overnight.
Yeah, this is a very, once again, valid concern. You're in another country. What are you going to do? A couple things. Make sure you have good insurance. That is very important. There are plenty of people that travel without insurance. I certainly would never be one of them. You do not want to find yourself in a situation where you're in another country with something more than, say, a broken arm, and you are in a hospital for a long stretch of time. Right. But then there's also the possibility of what if you need to be medevaced? If you want to be sent back to your home country, make sure you have insurance that covers that. If you have all these things kind of set in place before you travel, and then the what ifs become a little less scary.
Right. And on that, what if you have a chronic illness where you develop that you need care for routinely?
And I can see this one being a concern because, it's not one of those where you're just going to go see a doctor one time and get it taken care of. Right. You're having to build rapport with a new doctor in a new country. And what if you have to do that in multiple locations? So this is going to be a comfort level thing. For us, it would really depend what we were dealing with and our comfort level as we started to see these doctors. It might be one of those things where you do decide this isn't worth it. I'm ready to just go back to my home country where I feel comfortable. But I would say that kind of what if is one of those that we're going to have to tackle when the time comes.
Right. These are great what ifs. These are great what ifs, by the way. We're not mocking them at all. These are all questions that we get. What if? Well, let's keep going because we got a list more.
Yeah, and I will add to that though, is that these are also what ifs that we asked ourselves before we started traveling. We were asking each other this, because both of you might have, if you're traveling as a couple, a different view on these what ifs.
Right.
Like what is the answer for one person may not be the answer for the other person.
Yes.
What if you have a prescription medication that you need to have filled?
Yeah, have it filled at home and make sure you have enough to hold you through for your trip. Now, some countries, you might want to look into whatever that is that you're bringing in. They may not allow it, but in most cases, you'll be okay.
And the other thing, you also want to make sure that the medication, say you are going for a longer stretch of time, because some doctors will not fill a prescription for that long. You have a couple other options. Carry a paper prescription with you, get that from your doctor, but also verify the country that you're going into does fill that prescription or has a similar medication that they're going to be able to fill with, because you would hate to get to a country and not have the medication available that you need.
Right. Now, my inhaler, for example, is a generic brand of what I get. It works great. It's a fraction of the cost. Now, ironically enough, I cannot take this inhaler into Mexico when we go in the fall. I've already looked into it. Ironic, I know, but I cannot take this into Mexico, so I'll have to purchase one when I get there that they do accept. What if you get food poisoning?
That's a concern.
This was when we got this one a lot when we were in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
The whole food poisoning thing. Well, it is a concern. We didn't get sick at all. You hear horror stories about people that do. We got our hepatitis shots. Maybe that helps.
Yeah.
We're also very careful on which food trucks we pick to eat at.
We also got, I believe it was the typhoid shot, I believe is the one that is also help with foodborne illnesses. So there are options of the vaccinations that you can look into. But the other thing is just make sure you're looking ahead of time, making sure, is the water that you can drink? Can you consume all of the foods? Because there'll be warnings of certain things. Some of the places that you travel to, they will strictly warn you about ice cubes in your drink. If there is not a hole in the middle of the ice, do not use the ice. The other one was don't have lettuce because they have washed the lettuce with water that might get
If there's
you
not a
sick.
hole in the middle of the ice, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that's a common one. So
So the middle of the ice is what's bad for you.
it's because it's been processed. It has nothing to do with
They
it. It's
pull
a
out the
filtered
middle.
water. They bought the ice cubes.
okay.
So just like when we were in Thailand and we'd go to a restaurant, they had their ices being shipped in and being brought into them because it's been filtered, But it's just something you want to be mindful and watchful of. The same with when we were eating at food carts. Southeast Asia is really the place where we experience this the most. Go to those food carts where there's activity, where people are coming often and they're making the food. It's not been sitting there a really long time. Now, this is a sad one to think about, but it is one of those things you have to think about. What if your travel companion or partner becomes severely ill or dies while you're on the road?
Yeah, this is something that you need to talk about well beforehand. Be on the same page on this. Know what the plan will be. Do you want to be taken home? You want to be left there? Those are personal answers to that question. But it is a legitimate what if.
The other thing that I would really suggest that you do is make sure that the person you are traveling with also has a copy of your medical insurance, because obviously if you're severely ill, you are not going to be able to access it for them. But also have contact information for their family members so that you can contact family. In the heat of a moment of something going wrong, the last thing you're wanting to have to do is really go search for that stuff. So the more easily accessible that it is for you, I think that it's just going to feel like, I don't know, not as overwhelming of a process.
Right. We just email our stuff to each other so we have it in a file. What if there's a disease outbreak in the region you are in?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those that you have to be aware of, but you can make sure that you have any of the alert systems available on your phone. There's different apps. The CDC has an app that you can use that's going to let you know of anything that you need to know, and then you're just going to avoid that area.
Yeah, I'm sure the World Health Organization also has an app. I know they have a website that you can get on and get updated information as well.
Now, what if a family member becomes critically ill or passes away? Something nobody wants to think about happening.
Yeah, that's something you don't want to think about, but it's something you got to be prepared for. We figure we're only 24 hours away from home, no matter where we're at. We have an emergency fund set up just in case something like that should happen.
Yeah, I think just staying in touch with family, friends, making sure that you know everything that's going on, and that you're just kind of in that mode that if something happens, something happens. I think the fact is that no matter where you are in the world, you could even be in your hometown, something can happen. So we've just kind of had to settle ourselves with that we could be away when something does happen, but we'll get home as fast as we can.
What if Carrie loses the passports? There's a reason why I don't carry the passports, is because I probably will lose them. So what do you do when that happens?
Okay, so you want to make sure that you have a digital copy of your passports. We have them on our phones. We also have them where we've emailed them. I mean, we have multiple places where they're at. So we'll be able to get that. And then also just know the whereabouts of the embassy or consulate in the area, or what's closest to you, because that's where you're going to have to tackle and deal with this.
Now, I won't lose my passport, but Carrie just likes to have them in her place so she knows where they're at, because she doesn't trust me that I won't lose my passport.
Now, what if you're traveling and you run out of money?
Well, that's where credit cards come into play. Have your credit card at a zero balance 100% of the time. Pay that thing off at the end of each month. If you do happen to get yourself in a bind, you've got that credit card.
Yeah, and I would say if this is directed at us, that question will never get to the point that we're going to run out of money. If our travels go that sideways, we're going home or we're getting a different job. So, but just making sure that you do have access to some funds on a credit card to get you to the next place. Maybe at that point you can find a job online. There's a lot of resources to make money online wherever you are at in the world. So I would say that before you reach the out of money point, go to one of those other resources.
Yeah, if you see your money start to dwindle and you've got a long future plan, I would go home and get a job. Now, what if your accommodations get canceled last minute?
This is actually a really interesting question, just because we haven't actually had our accommodations canceled on us, but with the issues that we've had recently with accommodations and the changes we're making, it's something we're very aware of, a lot of people having issues with.
Yeah, we're more aware of it now than we ever have been, simply because we've never had to face it. But then when you get the what if, you start thinking, the wheels start turning a little bit. You need to have a backup plan there too. Just make sure there's hotels in the area that have vacancies, just in case you need to grab a room last minute for at least a couple nights.
Yeah, there's plenty of apps out there as well that you can use that are like last minute hotel bookings, or even if you just go on to say Expedia, they have a section where you can click for last minute deals. So, you know, a lot of these hotels have rooms that are sitting open. So it's not the ideal situation. Nobody wants this to happen to them, but there are other options that we can hop into.
What if you miss a connecting flight, or you miss a connecting train or bus? What do you do?
Really, the key thing to avoid this is make sure you are allowing enough time for your connections. Even sometimes when you're booking a flight, we have done connections before where the ticket will say, it will give us like 50 minutes in an international airport to make a connection. 50 minutes is not enough time at all. So if you agree to that flight, you're just asking for trouble. But if you want to agree to that, make sure that you have read that fine print of what the policy is for that airline for missing a flight and missing a connection.
Right. We had a 50-minute layover in Atlanta coming from Seattle. It wasn't international. We weren't worried about it. We almost missed the flight. So it could happen. Just leave yourself a lot of time.
What if you encounter language barriers?
Yeah, this is one that we get a lot. Now, there are apps you can use, Google Voice. There's a few of them that you can get into, and you can figure out your way if you get into that situation that's uncomfortable. But honestly, we have never really gotten into a situation, any country we've gone to, where English wasn't spoken enough to get through the conversation.
Yeah, and so the app that Brian was mentioning, it's actually Google Translate. It's great. It is, you can take pictures of things, you can talk into it, it will talk to the person in their language. I mean, it really, if you are in a place where you're gonna struggle a lot, it's gonna help you tremendously. We just personally have never had to use that. There's been times we have definitely used it on a regular basis to take pictures of things, and then it translates the picture. But I think with that app, and then just learning a couple of those key phrases for the places you're going to, you're going to be just fine.
You're going to be fine. You know, please and thank yous go a long way. Now, when people look at us when we walk into a room, they automatically just start speaking English for whatever reason, right?
We look American.
We look like we speak English. So that takes a lot of it out of the equation. But we have had a couple times, I think at a train station in Romania, we fumbled our way through. But the gentleman was extremely helpful, very friendly, didn't speak a lick of English, but guess what? We got through it no problem. What if you get scammed or robbed?
I think this is a pretty valid concern. It's a concern of a lot of people, especially depending where you're going to be traveling to. In some areas, it's more likely than others. You know, I think that this just really comes down to being cautious of your surroundings, making sure that your valuables are kept in a secure place. You know, if you're in an area that you're concerned about, if you're in the metro, if you are in a public place, a very touristy place that's crowded and busy, have your belongings right in front of you. Don't wear a backpack on your back where somebody can just open the thing. Just, you know, have it nice and secure in front of you.
Right, and you know, follow the same rules that you would follow back home, because the rest of the world really isn't as scary as where you're from. In most cases, you can get scammed and robbed just about anywhere.
Now, what if there is political unrest or a natural disaster where you're at?
Yeah, this is a big one, especially in the world we live in today. What if war breaks out or there's conflict? Stay informed, stay on that local news. There are also that same app that we mentioned earlier will also inform you of anything like that.
Yeah, you know, you can also be registered with your program, with your government.
Right.
The one that we're registered for the U.S. is called the STEP program. They're going to notify you of anything that happens. They're going to give you all the key information you need of where to go, where to check in at, maybe an airport and all that to get out of the country. So I highly recommend registering with that STEP program.
Register with the STEP program, and also make sure you have some emergency funds in case you need to leave in a quick hurry. What if you experience fatigue or travel burnout. Now, we've done a video about this.
It's a real thing, you
Yeah,
know.
it's a real
I mean, it's kind of interesting because if you talk to people who are just starting their travel adventure, I think for those people it might be hard to grasp getting burnt out, you know, because you're so excited. If somebody was said it to us, we would have been like, no, we'll be fine. Travel burnout's a real thing, but it's honestly very easily avoidable. Just make sure that you are making sure to put in those relaxed days, those down days, the days that you don't have to go sightsee.
Right.
Every day does not need to be a new adventure.
It's okay to get bored every once in a while. Okay, now all of these what ifs were great. We've got a list of our own what ifs that we're going to share with you right now. We're going to run through these a lot quicker. But what if none of these things happen?
Exactly. What if all your travels just go very smoothly and everything is just peachy keen?
What if all your flights and your connections are on time and everything runs smooth?
What if you never lose your luggage?
What if you never have any health issues?
What if you always find great accommodations?
And what if you always find new travel friends and friendly people no matter where you go?
What if you never encounter any safety issues at all?
And what if you stay on budget and you never run out of money?
What if you achieve all your travel goals?
What if none of those things happen and you just live the life of your dreams? Everything goes smooth. Now, not everything's going to go smooth every day, every time, but what if they do?
I think that the biggest thing that we have learned with traveling is the what ifs can happen to you no matter if you're traveling or if you're at home. You know, you can sit and you can always ask that question, what if you quit work too early? What if you decided to retire and it doesn't work out? What if, what if, what if?
Right.
The list really honestly can go on and on. And what we have kind of learned with these what ifs is that they can be a deterrent for a lot of people to travel or almost an excuse for people to not do what they want to do. Don't let them be your excuse.
Yeah.
The world is not as scary of a place that some people have set up in their head that it is. We have not had bad experiences anywhere we have traveled. We have never felt so unsafe that we've had to leave an area. I just think that this has opened our eyes to what ifs can happen wherever you're at.
Yeah, I mean, open your eyes. If you don't go, you won't know. Don't be afraid. Don't make the excuse. Now, there's always good reasons, but don't make the excuse.
All right, well, we hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like to give a little thumbs up, that would be great. It helps out our channel a lot. If you would like to see more of our content, be sure and subscribe so you're notified when we have a new video coming out, and we will catch you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.